Hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Rudy Page. Great to be here on a Friday morning. I'm really pleased we've got Rachel Anderson from Idle Women. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and hello, everyone.
Great to meet you. So, Rachel, tell us a bit about yourself, and also why are you called Idle Women?
Okay, so Idle Women, we're an arts, environment and social justice project collaboration. We work with like hundreds of women. We're based in the north of England, in Lancashire, and we set up in 2015. We set up initially because myself and Sis O'Boyle, both from arts background in London, actually, and we were spending all our days working in the arts and then all our weekends and evenings kind of protesting and trying to save women's spaces that were being cut down through austerity cuts. So our refuges, our support services, our specialist spaces that were being closed by austerity. And we wondered if we could bring together our resources as artists to create spaces for women that couldn't be cut, closed or taken away. So that's what we wanted to do. And in 2015, we realised that we could just about manage to build a narrowboat. So we came to Lancashire. We worked with a project called Super Slower, which is based on the canal. And we worked with a refuge called Humraz, which is a specialist support service for women exiting domestic violence. And we designed and built a narrowboat. It hasn't got an engine because we couldn't afford one, but we can tow it along the canal and we can host up to 12 women inside. But more importantly, we can take up space along the canals. And we've had, so since 2015, we've used the boat as a kind of placemaker for women. We can have residentials aboard, or we can have food, picnics, art projects, whatever we want to do. And since 2015, we've had sort of thousands of women join us on the canal. So actually our name, Idle Women, during the Second World War, when women ran the canals to move the essential goods around, they wore a badge saying IW, which stood for Inland Waterways, and became immediately nicknamed Idle Women. And even though they were far from idle, obviously they were doing very difficult manual work. And so for us, it was about, we didn't know about those women because history hasn't really remembered them. And I suppose also that we recognise that often women's contributions are degraded or belittled and ridiculed. So we wanted to sort of reclaim that, have a conversation about actually how much we contribute and how important it is.
Excellent. And also what you're proving is the importance of creativity being unified. It enables you to solve some of the most complex problems that we have in society.
It's a really inclusive way of working together, and that, you know, much diversity can happen through a creative process together. And I think I suppose one of the things that we were surprised by the tour, because as I say, we started off as an arts project, but soon we became also, arts and social justice. We brought environment in because the more space we took up on the canals, we realised how off-putting it is going into green spaces for women. And that's because of real threat of violence, because of real threat of racism, because of real threat of these obstructions that get in the way of us enjoying our rightful place in green spaces, whether that's parks, local woods, canal sides, fields, mountains. So we realised very quickly that that was something that women really longed for, but also really mourned. So when the group space left, they didn't have that access anymore. And we realised that we had to sort of campaign around that and make our work around that as well. How important it is.
And that's important because, again, that does have implications for mental well-being and just feeling that that you can venture out into the world just like everybody else.
Totally. So one of our partners, Canal and River Trust, for example, they launched a campaign a few years ago saying life's better by water and it's good for your mental health. And we sort of said, actually, that's not so straightforward for women, because if we're kind of checking our safety all the time and feeling nervous about those spaces, that's not that good for our mental health. So we've been working with Canal and River Trust to really highlight that and kind of look at how that can be problem solved. And they're part of the partners on this project as well. So they're embracing the conversation and the dialogue about need to recognise how we need to change all our spaces really to make them safer for women.
Absolutely. So tell us about the project Stadium for the Future. If I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution, and how it's part of the Youth for Women's football championships this year.
Yeah, so for the first time, the Women's Football Championships are doing an art and cultural programme to support the games, which obviously are being played at the moment throughout England in July. You can tell immediately that I don't know anything about football. So when we were asked, would we like to do a project as part of the arts and cultural programme, we were like, oh no, I don't think so. That's not for us. But actually, we had a conversation with the people who are organising it, and they told us that actually women's football has always been really, really popular. And there was a point where it was so popular that it actually got banned. And only 50 years ago, that ban was lifted. And also that it's got a kind of working class background. It was really pioneered by women who worked in factories, who played in their sort of break times and after work. They never had a dedicated space, and they still don't today. They never had dedicated training ground. They still don't today. So actually the thing that really connected to us, and we were like, actually, I think every single woman in the world would recognize that struggle to make space for themselves, to do the things that they want, to meet their own ambitions and have a go at something. So that really spoke strongly to Ida Women's principles. We said, yeah, we'll do a project. I suppose that thinking about this, the fact that there's not a stadium, and then we started to look at the stadiums, and actually they're big concrete buildings, they're very industrial spaces. And we thought, bearing in mind and taking into account all of the crisis that we face at the moment, these are crises of social justice, of racism, of environmental catastrophe that are on our doorstep. How do we think about building something new for the future? And what if we were to build a stadium? What would it look like if women built a stadium on our own, without and we were just left to it and given the resources, given the space, given the time? How would we co-create it? How would it look? How would it be environmentally sustainable? How would it be inclusive? How would it be celebratory? And how would it serve us going into this future that is full of, promise, but also a lot of issues coming forward? So we wanted to use the project to think about that. Obviously, within 6 months, we couldn't build that stadium. But what we said to the invitation, the commissioners, is that we would hold a series of dances around the country, maybe for women that don't get to go out and dance that often.
Okay. And
we said, actually, we'll have this conversation and we'll provoke the idea of a stadium for the future through celebration and through dancing.
Okay, excellent. So what are the 4 raves for women that are taking part across the country?
So today we're halfway through. We've held 2. We held one in Wigan last Sunday, which was in a nature reserve. And it was, because it was a nature reserve, we wanted it to be acoustic and sensitive to the environment and the creatures. And women all came together, loads of different drummers, drum and brass instruments. So we had a drum and brass acoustic rave. We did a lot of outreach work. Women from the community did workshops to learn to drum in the lead up, and then we had lots of different professional musicians playing, and we all sort of joined in and we danced, and it was so hot and it was so lovely. And then this Wednesday, so the day before yesterday, we had an event in Hounslow.
Right.
And that was alongside the Thames River, and it was to celebrate elder women. And again, we came together and we danced. Actually, we danced with DJ Texas Ranger, who played requests. So it was really fun because everyone asked for their favorites, and we just had a lot of laughs. Oh, and so the next one. So now we've got 2 more. This Sunday we're in Milton Keynes, and this is with a collective called Queer Rave Sound System, which are queer people of colour who have built their own sort of hi-fi sound system movement, I suppose, to make sure that there's employment, there's jobs, there's opportunities for women who often don't get chance in the music industry. So we've got a really exciting lineup in Milton Keynes, and it's under an underpass, which again is one of those spaces that we just often just run through, feel nervous about going into. So we're going to sort of take that up and have a real celebratory event there. And then the grand finale is going to be in Brent. So that is on the 29th of July, a Friday. And we are dancing at the Pavilion, the Jason Roberts Foundation Pavilion. Again, we've got DJ Texas Ranger, who is just a total superstar, and I'm starstruck to work with her. And we're going to be dancing in a football pitch. And we want loads of women to come and join us.
Excellent, excellent. So, I mean, you've kind of alluded to it, but what is so special about the experience of a dance with just women?
It's been so interesting re-engaging with this, because obviously we've all been through quite a difficult time with the pandemic. I know it's still going, and a lot of us are still going through difficulties with it. So in a way, I feel a bit out of touch, but being back into this, holding these two events, I've been struck by how joyful they are. I really have. And I think above all, they're so cooperative. They're such cooperative spaces. I've never entered a space where I didn't know anyone at all, and by the end of it I felt like I just had a whole family of new friends. You know, I think in just the space of a few hours, everyone's looking after each other, getting drinks for each other, dancing, laughing, having fun, throwing water on one another, whatever, but just incredibly joyful and free. And we have comments like how pleasant it is to just dance unseen, you know, just dance for yourself and not have to feel conscious that maybe someone's watching you. There are many of us who don't get to go out and dance. Maybe we've had an experience that has put us off going out, or maybe there are other barriers or permissions that we don't get to go out and dance. So these are sober events that are totally inclusive and welcoming for all women, so we can come together, whatever our background is.
Sounds like freedom.
It is freedom. And honestly, it sounds like such a simple thing, doesn't it? And as we put so much work into these, and we say, look, this is such a simple request, isn't it? A few hours dancing together, just women. And actually it's way more complex to do that, because I guess that's why we don't see this very often. It's just not that common. And I think there's a lot of power in being together collectively like this.
Right, just before we come to the end, so could you just tell us a few more details about the event in Brent and who's actually put it together?
Yeah, so we've been working, like I say, about 6 months we've been working on this. So we've been working with Sarita Brown at the council, yeah, and Jemima Sam Russell, who's a fantastic young producer. And then we've worked with some community sheroes, who I'm sure you're going to know, like Diane Schrader Johnson, yeah, and Sujata Banjari Dance Company. They've been creatively helping us sort of conceive and think through the event and plan it and invite women to come and outreach. And then obviously DJ Texas Ranger, who's going to lead us through this dancing epic. And then we're inviting women to come on their own as individuals, come with their family, come with their community groups. If they're part of community groups, we'd like to invite all women to come and join us, really.
Excellent. And tell us, absolutely, last time, when and where again?
So it's Friday the 29th of July. The dance is from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, and there's going to be food as well, lots of food, lots of lovely refreshing drinks, and it's free, but it is important to reserve a ticket so that we can check numbers. And the ticket, well, you can share the link perhaps, Rudy, for us, but it's on Eventbrite. Yeah. Great.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
And very well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Rudy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.